BMW is the manufacturer that launched the whole coupe SUV craze, a craze which has been picked up by other manufacturers since the original X6 was launched. But since then, the German manufacturer has also made a smaller version of the X6, the X4. And now I'm driving the second generation X4, which is based on the X3. The X4 carries a €2,000+ premium over the more practical X3, and you are asked to pay more specifically because it looks quite different, especially from the rear. In fact, the front end looks basically the same, it's identical. But the rear end, which is wider and lower, gives it a completely different aesthetic. And you don't even lose that much cargo space compared to the X3. It's about 25 liters. Its engine makes 231 Euro horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque, which is similar to what you used to get from a 6-cylinder 3-liter diesel just a few years ago. The unit, in conjunction with BMW's 8-speed automatic transmission, makes the X4 feel brisk. Although, even with this smaller 2-liter engine, it only just nudges 1.9 tons. It's still a pretty heavy thing, and a bit top heavy. And while it's good to drive and good to thread on a twisty road for an SUV, it's not as good as a sporty hatchback or saloon or estate. The X4 is a very accomplished highway cruiser. I'm now doing the speed limit and there's hardly any sound coming into the cabin. It is a bit of a windy day and you can kind of hear the wind, especially around these shovel-sized mirrors, but it's really not that bad. Especially since this particular car has double glazing, which you can see when you open the door and the window. It's quite enjoyable to travel on long straight roads in it. It should also prove quite efficient. BMW claims it should return somewhere under 6 liters per 100 kilometers, although in the real world you're looking at something somewhere closer to 8 liters per 100 kilometers, although still decent. Inside, the X4 is indistinguishable from the X3, apart from this plaque here that says X4. But that's by no means a bad thing, because the latest X3 is a great place to travel in. It's super comfortable, the seats are good. They're not great, but they're decent, they're pretty good. And the ambience is one of quality and cutting-edge design. It looks really modern. There's little, if anything, to criticize. It's a great place to be. It's very well screwed together. Nearly all materials are very pleasant to touch. This black headliner is really, really trick, I think. Now, since it has the same interior as the X3, it boasts the same level of practicality. It has cup holders that are hidden, a place to charge your phone, or the key in this case, huge cup holders or bottle holders in the door and pockets as well. They are smaller in the back, but in the front you can fit a 2-liter bottle. Regarding the X4's handling, it's definitely very safe, secure and sure-footed, and there's a lot of grip, especially in this xDrive equipped model, but you cannot escape its weight and its inertia in the corners, as well as just how high up you're sitting. It may look quite low, coupe-like and rakish from the outside, but the driving position, even with the seat in its lowest position, is quite high actually. On bumpier roads, the X4 definitely feels quite firm. This particular tester we have here does have adaptive dampers, but you really don't want them in their sportier setting on anything but smooth roads, because the vehicle is pretty firm as is. BMW really started a craze with its whole coupe SUV. Now Mercedes makes two of them, one X6 sized and one X4 sized. These vehicles are actually really popular. And while I personally and many automotive journalists think they aren't really that appealing because you lose some practicality for what cannot be described as extra style, although BMW would probably disagree, and many of this car's buyers would probably disagree. It's supposed to be easy to live with every day, even for a family. And in that respect, I think you should buy the X3. You get the same range of engines and an aesthetic that, while definitely less polarizing, is definitely also more timeless and it won't offend in 10 years' time. As a practical proposition, it's only slightly marred by the X3, the more practical X3, but style-wise, it looks radically different. So maybe it's a car for people who want to stand out using the car they have, the vehicle they have bought. Because driving it makes you just as happy to be inside the X3 as it does the X4. But it's all about how you are perceived from the outside.